physical condition of both Yuki and Theta, who are both unconscious and bleeding badly from all the radiation exposure. After the victory over Adonis has been confirmed, the Emperor gives another one of his speeches to the people, telling them that magic still remained in the world and the boy, whom they took from the witch's hands 10 years ago, had been unleashed upon them once more. He decided to attack them after they had killed his only friend and imprisoned him for 10 years after, despite being human himself. He held no sense of mercy towards his own kind, the humans, and I wonder why. Even after 10 years, they uncover the mystery behind how Adonis was able to use magic as a human, and since they kept him alive that long trying to figure that out, all of this happened as a result. However, the people do not need to fear, for Rydia has achieved the pinnacle of technological advancement, and has finally eradicated magic from the world entirely. This, he says, while hooked up to his cancer life support, which is a direct result of said technology that eradicated the witches. A student in his school are watching his speech on YouTube, and the teacher points out to the class that they lost a few of their classmates to the previous incident, but national mock exams are coming up, so they need to move past it and continue studying for it. After class, one girl is approached by another who claims to have seen her do something terrible during the incident. The first girl, Eri, claims that it was a perfectly natural reaction to the situation and she did nothing wrong there, so the other girl leaves her alone for now. Later that day, Eri goes to visit the memorial for all the people who died in the incident and apologizes to her boyfriend Takumi. He was pinned under a rock and asked her for help, but just as she was about to try to save him, she noticed a rock falling towards them and left him there to die. She is sure that he must hate her now and that she is a terrible person. She left her boyfriend to die, and even worse, she started simping for Adonis, who is the same guy that caused her boyfriend's death. However, a guy pops up behind her and sees her staring at Adonis' pictures, startling her. She realizes that the guy is part of the government and this could be pretty bad for her, so she leaves immediately, but Oz is not going to let high school girls get away with simping for serial killers, so he reports her for treason, for which she will later likely be executed or imprisoned. He also gets some news from his analysis girl back at headquarters who really hates working for this dude. She informs him that the body of Adonis that they have is a fake, and we see the real Adonis wake up elsewhere. Adonis is surrounded by witches and being held down to a table because his body is reacting violently to the transportation they used to bring him here. They were worried something like this might happen, but they have no idea what to do about it now. This is where Madame Ophelia steps in and says she will return him to his senses by stimulating his brain, causing him to see memories of Chloe. He continues to struggle until he finally remembers what happened back in the kingdom. The body that was killed by the soldier was a fake, and that soldier turned out to be a witch who was named Anna. She was sent to infiltrate the kingdom alongside Doroka and just used duplication magic to fake Adonis' death so Ophelia could transport him up to the witch's base. She gives the signal and Adonis is wrapped in a ball floating into the sky, bringing us to this moment where Adonis is confused about the situation and Ophelia thanks him for all the fighting he has done for them. He finally has a moment of clarity and realizes that this must be the nation of witches. He is wheeled around in a wheelchair because he is still unable to walk, and he looks around the nation of witches, which is basically a utopia for them, and talks to a few people who had met Chloe in the past and had a lot of good things to say about her. He is later brought to Ophelia, where he attempts to get out of the wheelchair, saying he can walk by himself now, but Ophelia tells him to stay in his chair since this place should not feel the influence of a human. Adonis asks her if she knew Chloe, but Ophelia says there isn't a single person in the nation of witches that didn't know Chloe. Despite her use of ice magic, she always radiated warmth and was beloved by all the witches, but then she was eventually cast out of the nation. Adonis corrects her and points out that she was the one who kicked Chloe out of the nation of witches because she taught magic to a human. Him. Ophelia doesn't deny it, but says magic is like the soul of the witches, a power given to them by God to guide the humans, and thus they believe that something like that should never be taught to a human. They all begged Chloe to abandon her human student and return to the nation, but she would only smile and apologize for not listening to them. Ophelia smiles a little, remembering the past, and tells Adonis he can have his quill back. After seeing it, his eyes widen and he leaps out of his wheelchair, pushing another witch out of the way to get to it. But to be honest, she wasn't blocking his path, so that was pretty unnecessary. It's a magic-imbued phoenix feather with a red dragon eye ornament which allows a human to use magic. But the reason he is so obsessed with the quill is not because of the power he has with it, but rather because it was a gift from Chloe. He asked Ophelia if she is really serious about being able to bring Chloe back to life, and she says witches do not lie. This brings relief to Adonis, knowing that he will be able to see his beloved Chloe once more, but as he looks upwards, he doesn't see the moon, he sees the earth and asks where they are right now. After the witch hunt 10 years ago, all the remaining witches collectively went to the moon where the humans cannot reach them, at least until they invent rockets. The advent of science brought out the true nature of humans. They seek to control everything around them, and that which they cannot control, they aim to get rid of altogether. As Adonis sits on the surface of the moon with a spacesuit and Ophelia stands there just raw-dogging the cosmos, she shows him the gravestones of all the witches that were killed in the kingdom's conquest for power. The king of the humans believed that humans would only be corrupted by the power of witches and would oppress them forever. But then after he finally got rid of the witches, he oppressed the rest of the humans in the world. Ophelia then takes Adonis to see Mito, the tree that gives birth to the witches. Ophelia asks Adonis if he has ever seen one, but this is his first time seeing it in person since Chloe did like to talk about her origins. Witches are unisex beings and do not have mating pairs. Rather, they receive life from these trees. However, this is the last surviving Mito tree that can give birth to the witches since the humans burnt down all the other ones, and this was the only one they were able to transport to the surface of the moon. Adonis notices a pod which contains a witch which looks an awful lot like Chloe, but Ophelia tells him that it isn't Chloe, just a witch waiting to be born. But in order to turn her into Chloe, his strength and magic is needed. Magic is the act of giving an individual's thoughts a physical form in the real world, and the written style summoning magic that Adonis uses can be used to give form to any and all thoughts. And memories are the very essence of life itself, so if he were able to use his magic to seal his memories of Chloe and the unborn witch, then she can be resurrected. So as it stands, he and his connection to Chloe are the key to bringing her back to life, and as such, he should let them know when he is ready to begin the ceremony. Adonis looks up the tree and still can't believe he will actually be able to revive Chloe, but then the witch that had pretended to be a soldier back on Earth, Anna, approaches him angry that Daroka died for him. But that's not his fault. This whole operation was your idea, and he takes no responsibility for the casualties. She calls him selfish and acts all innocent, questioning why they had risked their lives to save him. However, Adonis knows exactly why they did so, and that is because they plan to use Chloe for their own purposes. Anna is shocked that Adonis has such information, but back on Earth, before she died, Daroka told him that the witches plan to use Chloe's power, so they must flee the nation after she is revived. He also points out that the witches can survive the harsh conditions of space without any protection. So if they truly came here to just live in peace away from the humans, then they wouldn't have needed to create such an elaborate space station that can support human life. The real purpose of it is to act as a cage for humans. They plan to kidnap human slaves and children to train them on how to use the written style summoning magic in order to fight a war against the humans. Since the number of witches is low, they need to recover and get soldiers somehow. And since a draft isn't going to cut it, they are going to use Chloe and a little child labor to bolster their offense. They need Chloe to train them because she is the only one who can make those magic quills that allow humans to use magic, so it is crucial to their plan. He's got them all figured out, so she can't go gaslighting him into thinking he is selfish one here. He walks away, but Anna tells him to wait and still begs him to help them regardless of what he knows. Adonis clears one thing up. He's still going to revive Chloe. That much hasn't changed, and he doesn't really care what happens to either the witches or the humans, so they can go to war for all he cares. The only one he truly cares for is Chloe, so if they revive her and she chooses to reject their plans, then that is what he will do. Later, they begin the ceremony to revive Chloe, and Adonis steps forward to begin, hitting the most Power Ranger-type poses for someone who is just riding in the air. His memories of Chloe are being transferred into the witch pod, and Adonis starts to have flashbacks to the time he spent with Chloe. One moment where they were both on a roof together gazing at the stars, and Adonis was showing off his knowledge of memorizing all the constellations, including the Adonis constellation, which she named after him, but she had forgotten about that and could barely remember where it was. Another moment where Chloe was taking a bath and Adonis had to clean up after her since she left her clothes everywhere. But while walking past the curtains, he noticed that she was covered in bruises all over. But she just tells him it's impolite to watch her in the bath. He retorts that he was only watching to make sure she was okay and goes to leave. But before he goes, Chloe breaks down in tears and thanks him for being with her because she wouldn't be able to live in this world alone, and it is the same feeling for him. As he completes the spell, he tells Chloe he loves her, and the pod opens to reveal the witch. However, that looks a lot more like Daroka than Chloe. This was the end of episode 4. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.